What's going on, you bunch of heathens? We're back with another Fat Electrician video. This time, we are checking out US Marines surrounded by communists, the Chosin Reservoir, and ooh, I'm excited. I think I vaguely know which story this is, and it's such a good one. Like, I'm honestly super excited for this. Just want to say, hope you guys had a nice Halloween. Hope you guys, if you went out and did shit, hope you guys had fun. Yeah, let's just jump in.
All right, well, it's Halloween. I guess we should talk about that time that the United States Marine Corps figured out a way to turn Tootsie Rolls into a weapon.
Yo,
today we're talking about one of the most underrated and underappreciated battles in United States military history, the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. When 15,000 US Marines and 3,000 Army soldiers got ambushed and surrounded by 120,000 Chinese communist forces in the dead of winter, with temperatures reaching as low as -50. But despite the weather, despite being ambushed and taken by surprise, and despite being outnumbered 4-1, the United States Marine Corps led this operation to not only survive, but to kill a disproportionate amount of the enemy and save 10% of the South Korean civilian population in the process. And we're gonna...
I mean, hey, just gonna say, this sounds like another day at work for the fucking Marines, okay? This is like the epitome of the Marines right here. This sounds pretty fucking normal.
Get into it right after word from our sponsor.
Delete me.
What's your problem?
I've been up all night. Is this Echelon?
Yes. Don't be drinking all my new Echelon.
You finally made one that's not spicy. So I'm gonna take this.
Do you want your other Echelon? All right, here's the deal.
I'll
Super
take
simple,
it.
straightforward
If she
business
don't want
model.
it.
You give them money, they turn around and make sure the data brokers on the internet aren't selling your personal information. What does that even mean? Okay, here's the entire internet and every free service on the planet inside of a nutshell, okay? There's a saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. What that means is pretty much anything on the internet that you use, that's a service, whether that be Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it, okay? It's all an app, so one of two things is happening. They're either gonna feed you ads, and that's how that company makes money since their service is free, or they're gonna collect your personal information and then turn around and sell it to data.
When was the last time I did a TFE video? It feels like it's been fucking forever, because I honestly love TFE. And I love the way he speaks, so it's been a while, hasn't it? Luca Charlie, that was the 20... Damn! It has been a while since I've done them. I fucking love it. I don't know why
the internet, and then they're gonna
I don't know why today just hit me. I just love the way he speaks, and I just love the way he speaks. Even for an ad read, he speaks so well. He is awesome.
And sell it to whoever buys it, and next thing you know, you're getting 17,000 robocalls every single day. And that's where Delete Me comes in. They will look through all the major data brokers and find the ones that are selling your personal information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, and then they are legally obligated to comply. And then they'll continue to monitor these data brokers, and if they get your information again, Delete Me will submit an opt-out request again. Basically, you're paying Delete Me to get rid of all the downsides of all of the free stuff on the internet, which I think is absolutely worth it. If you want to check them out, I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video.
Hell yeah.
All right, Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. In order to understand it, you have to understand the Korean War. And considering it's literally called the Forgotten War and most people know nothing about it, we're going to go ahead and...
God. It really does suck, because I want to learn a bit more. And also, the Korean War was just interesting. Like, I know bits and pieces of it, because it happened fairly quickly after World War II. What I really want... I would really love more media dedicated around the Korean War. Like games, TV shows, movies, just any of that. Like the closest you get to like hearing media about it is that I can think of off the top of my head is the animation F is for Family. The dad was a pilot for the Korean War. That's like all I can really remember. Off the top of my head that really mentions Korea.
do a little recap so we're all on the same page. After World War II, the Korean Peninsula is divided along the 38th parallel, pretty much the same border that we have today. Up north, you have the North Koreans that are communist, and they are backed by the Soviet Union and China. Down south, you have the capitalist South Koreans that are backed by the United States of America and the rest of the Western world. On June 25th, 1950,
let's go South
the
Korea.
North Koreans attack. They invade south with Soviet tanks and Soviet training, and they pretty much steamroll the South Koreans, capturing Seoul, the capital, in less than 72 hours, and driving all of the South Korean forces all the way down the peninsula to a tiny little alcove where they're holding out, known as the Pusan Perimeter. And then America steps in. Why does America step in? Because at this point in time, America is practicing what is known as containment doctrine, and containment is referring to communism. Basically, the American leadership has...
We can't be letting all of them in, letting communists do it all. I mean, like, just put it this way. If America didn't step in, can you imagine if all of the Korean Peninsula was all like North Korea? You know how bad that would be? Like, that would actually be bad. And yet, for some reason, this war gets forgotten.
Decided that communism is bad and we don't want more of it. However, we don't want to go in there and root out the entire ideology because it would be World War III and there'd be a ton of death. So America kind of looks at communism like an inoperable cancer. We're not willing to go in there and take it out at the root. However, we're going to do everything we can to stop it from spreading. The idea being, if we can stop it from spreading, we can prevent World War III, because if we allow the communists to take South Korea or any other nation, then it's going to spread from South Korea to Japan to Australia, and it's going to go all over the world. And next thing you know, we've got World War III, capitalism versus communism, and it'd be a fucking catastrophe. Whether that's right or wrong, that was the idea and the strategy at the time. Now, the obvious thing to do would be to land all the American forces inside the Pusan perimeter and then fight your way back up the peninsula, but that's not what General MacArthur and the rest of the American leadership decides to do. They decide to take a riskier strategy of launching an amphibious landing on the other side of the country in Incheon. Why is this risky? Because Incheon is not a very viable location to launch a massive amphibious landing because it's a horrible beach. There's literally a seawall there. The only time an amphibious landing would be possible would be for 1 or 2 hours during high tide. And when you're talking about moving tens of thousands of men out of hundreds of boats in a 1 to 2 hour gap at a very particular time, that's going to require both logistical perfection and a significant amount of luck. But that's exactly what happens. On
I guess we got both of those, bitch.
America launches Operation Chromite, lands 75,000 Marines in Incheon. They immediately take over Incheon, catching the North Koreans off guard, and head straight into Seoul and take it over as well. From here, they pretty much cut the enemy lines in half, cutting off supplies to all of the men south of them, and all the UN forces break out of Pusan, pushing back up the peninsula. By early October, literally in 2 fucking weeks, America has retaken all of South Korea and pushed the North Koreans all the way back into their own country. At this point, General MacArthur, who's already pretty renowned for being arrogant, sees the outrageous success that he's had in this risky operation. He's taken over all of South Korea in like 2 weeks. Everything's going great. He gets the idea in his head of like, hey, what if we break containment doctrine and we push into North Korea and just eliminate the North Koreans completely, and then we can unify Korea?
No, don't like that.
So he takes this idea to the president and the Joint...
It would have been... We probably could have done it too.
Chiefs of Staff. The Joint Chiefs of Staff actually kind of like the idea, but President Truman is hesitant because he doesn't want to start World War III. So he issues the order, U.S. forces are allowed to proceed into North Korea with caution. However, disclaimer, only South Korean forces can advance all the way to the border between North Korea and China. And this is a brilliant strategy on President Truman's part.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Understand, China is a communist nation that's not only backing North Korea, but they're ran by Chairman Mao, and he just got done fighting a civil war in his own country, fighting against a side that the United States was backing, and he knows that America fucking hates communism. So Chairman Mao is understandably paranoid that America's going to invade. He also...
Okay, yeah, makes sense. It also doesn't help that they won the war because during World War II, the US sent both the communists of China and the democracy of China, or the Republic, we sent both of them tanks and weapons. Whereas the Soviets only sent the communists. So afterwards, there was that issue.
So is battle hardened. He has a ton of men that are also battle hardened. So Truman, by doing this, is saying like, hey, we'll advance into North Korea, but we're only going to send the South Koreans all the way up to the Chinese border. And this is going to send the clear message to China, hey, America's not coming to invade China. We're just going to, you know, stop here 100 miles back. And then we're going to let the South Koreans handle the Korean business. Korea will get unified and you can stay over there with your communism and not food. But General MacArthur, in his infinite fucking wisdom and arrogance, decides that he's going to defy the orders of the president, aka the commander-in-chief, but not only just the commander-in-chief, the same commander-in-chief that ended World War II. Clearly that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So he violates orders and orders all of the American forces to advance north all the way to the Yalu River, which is the terrain feature that defines the border between China and North Korea.
That's a bad sign.
Now, from Chairman Mao's perspective, this is an enormous fucking issue, understandably so. I mean, imagine if the roles were reversed and China were marching north through Mexico and he ordered his Chinese communist forces to go all the way up to the Rio Grande. Do you think America and Texas would sit there and twiddle their thumbs and hope that the Chinese were going to stop at the Rio Grande, knowing that China had taken a vow to basically eradicate capitalism? Absolutely fucking not. So why would you expect your enemy to not do the exact same thing that you would do in that situation? Sorry, if you're getting the vibe that I don't like General MacArthur, it's because I don't. Buh! General MacArthur's a hero. He said he would return to the Philippines in World War II, and that's exactly what he did. Buh! Oh, did he? Did he fly in like Superman, shooting laser beams out of his eyes and tank the entire island by himself? Or was it the 1 million Marines and Army guys that went in there and gave their lives to liberate the Philippines? And why did he have to take a vow to return to the Philippines anyways? Was it because after Pearl Harbor had been attacked and he received early warning that the Japanese were coming, he decided to not get all of his planes up in the air, so when the Japanese showed up, they got to bomb all the planes still on the fucking ground, getting a bunch of men killed? And then he tried to delay.
What was it? Was it? I'm trying to remember which unsub video podcast it was. It was either with Lore Lodge or it was Stakui, the History of Everything podcast. One of those two, they had a talk about MacArthur. They ended up talking about MacArthur, and yeah, it really. I like MacArthur in the meme way of, yeah, let's use the fucking hydrogen bomb on China, you know? But other than that, he was just not that great a general. Like, tactically, sure, but he was arrogant as fuck, and yeah.
The battle strategy of having all of his men fall back to Bataan, and instead he tried to defend the entire island at first, getting even more men killed because losing the Philippines would make him look bad. And then when pretty much all hope was lost, he decided to hop in a PT boat in the middle of night and evacuate himself and abandon his men. Is that why he had to return? Buh! That's not fair because he was ordered by the president to evacuate the Philippines. Buh! Oh, just like he—
Oh, I was about— yeah, he's about to bring it up. I was gonna say, you mean kind of like how he was ordered by the president to not go within 100 miles of the border? Homie doesn't seem to have an issue with disobeying presidents, but here but now he's perfectly fine following them. They follow him when it fucking suits him. Okay, that's what it comes down to. He follows president's orders when it suits him.
He was given the order by the president to not have U.S. troops approach the Chinese border, but ordered his troops to go right there anyways. It's almost like he's willing to follow orders whenever it saves his own ass, and he's willing to defy them and put all of his men in harm's way, except that he thinks it's gonna pad his own fucking glory. I'm sorry, I'm getting very sidetracked. I apologize.
Almost lost my cool there.
Nah, bro, we love it when you lose your cool. I love that shit.
MacArthur issues the order to go all the way to the Yalu River, aka the Chinese border. Marines go into North Korea, start kicking ass, start beating their way all the way up the peninsula. They're advancing so fast that the front lines are moving faster than the supply lines can keep up. They're literally outrunning the supply lines. While that's going on, Chairman Mao in China sees that America is invading North Korea, so they do an understandable thing and start amassing hundreds of thousands of troops on the Chinese border in case America decides to attack. American intelligence knows about this. They give the reports to General MacArthur. General MacArthur ignores them. The Marines keep advancing north, outrunning supply lines. At this point, Chairman Mao starts sending his Chinese forces into North Korea under the cover of night on foot.
Dude, we cannot slow down, motherfuckers. Like, yeah, it's good to be taken so quick. We cannot be outrunning our supply line. That's not a good thing. You gotta slow down.
November 1st, 1950, Chinese troops are confirmed in combat with the United States Marine Corps. Hits Truman's desk, hits MacArthur's desk. MacArthur says, that's not possible. Keep advancing towards the Chinese border. November 2nd,
MacArthur,
1950,
you fuck
Marines
nut.
advance into the Sudong Gorge on their way to the Chosin Reservoir when they are ambushed by a sizable Chinese element. Unfortunately for them, the Marines that they ambushed was the 1st Marine Division, being led by none other than Chesty motherfucking Puller.
Yo! I didn't know Chesty was here. My history's all kinds of fucked up. I didn't.
The
Damn.
greatest Marine of all time. The 1st
Fuck
Marine
yeah.
Division suffers 30 casualties, and the Chinese suffer upwards of 300. So that's good. The battle
Damn.
went about as well
Hell
as
yeah.
it could have for war, but also
Yeah,
pretty
about
big
as good as it can
fucking
be.
red flag that there's actual Chinese elements now in North Korea engaging the Marines, which MacArthur, you'll never guess, decides to ignore.
I don't see much of nothing. A matter of fact, I can't even see you, sir.
And for the first couple of weeks in November, there's skirmishes all over the place between Chinese forces and the U.S. Marines. But MacArthur and his guys make the call, just keep pushing. So the lead element of the 1st Marines
Motherfucker.
winds up in a place called Hagaru, just south of the Chosin Reservoir, which is a massive man-made lake. From here, the plan is we're gonna have to split and send guys up both sides to keep advancing north. The man in charge of this section of the Marines is General Oliver Smith, and he is not happy about this idea at all. Here's the thing, the terrain in this area of North Korea is described as being straight up or straight down. Either you're going up a hill or you're going down a hill. And the roads that you see on the map are literally bank, going downhill, road, cliff. There's nowhere to go. There's one way in and one way out, both directions. And calling
that's
it a
not
road is
good.
kind of a
That's
stretch.
shit.
It's literally an old ox trail that they can barely fit a truck on. And going back the other direction isn't any better. Going back towards friendly lines, there's still one trail going to the nearest town of Kodori, and that's 12 miles away. And then from Kodori, again, there's one trail, one road that goes 35 miles back to the port where all the supplies have to come in. So at Hagaru, they are like 50 miles deep with
That is. God, why? Fuck you. Why? Bear in mind, they've already. I'm pretty sure they're still out running the fucking logistics. So all it would take is them cutting off that fucking one way for them to be cut off from logistics.
one way in and one way out, and if anything goes wrong, they're fucked, and they want to keep advancing further in, splitting their forces under the same conditions. But thankfully,
No, that's
General
not
Smith
good.
realizes this is a humongous mistake and starts
is a big
stockpiling
mistake.
supplies at Hagaru and orders his engineers to start building an airstrip so they can fly shit in and out.
Thank you. Actual smart fucking decision. Thank
Seeing
you.
this, General MacArthur and his staff are like, way to go, General Smith, preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. What a brilliant plan. No, I'm just kidding. MacArthur and his staff are mad at General Smith and make fun of him for being overly cautious. And
Okay, I'm starting to really get where he gets his hate from. MacArthur can suck a dick. He really fucking can. I'm getting really tired of MacArthur. Like, I really am. MacArthur can go suck a fat dick.
slowing down the operation instead of just driving headfirst further into enemy territory with no backup plan. But General Smith, being a good leader, says, I don't really care about my own personal glory of being the first guy to reach the Yalu River. I would much
makes
rather do it the
sense.
safe way and look out for my guys. So that's exactly what he does. He stocks up supplies in Hagaru and builds an airstrip. Okay, and bear in mind, it's November in North Korea. It's dipping down into like -40, -50 at night, and it snows there. We're one snowstorm away from blocking this ox trail, cutting
Yeah,
off supply
exactly.
lines, and everybody freezes and starves to death.
Exactly. So why the fuck are you talking so much shit, MacArthur? Like, why?
So even without the threat of the Chinese military, this was a good and necessary idea. So they set up the 1st Marine Division headquarters right there with 3,600 men and the airstrip. From here, they send the rest of the Marines and the Army guys up around the Chosin Reservoir. Up the right side, they send 2,500 U.S. Army guys backed up by about 1,000 South Koreans. While they're advancing north, they come across a place called
3,500.
Hudong, and after that, the road conditions and the weather is so bad, they have to leave their armored unit, their tanks, there in Hudong, while the rest of the men advance forward. And
Okay,
they end
not
up
good.
picking up position right here, and they dig in. Going up the left side of the reservoir, they have Fox Company, 234 Marines that go up on a ridge, securing a choke point on the road right here, and then the rest of the 8,000 Marines advance into a place called Udamni, where they dig in. November 23rd rolls around, Thanksgiving. They all get to eat cold turkey while they're freezing their ass off in negative 20+ degree temperatures.
Hey,
November
some
24th,
turkey.
MacArthur comes through division headquarters celebrating, telling everybody we're all going to be home by Christmas. Hooray, and then he takes off and fucks off in his plane. What MacArthur doesn't know is that Mao has already sent in 120,000 soldiers to surround everybody at the Chosin Reservoir. And the Marines don't know that either, so they're all just hanging out, freezing their asses off. It's so cold that the lubrication that they use on their guns actually turns into jelly and would jam the guns, so they strip all their guns of all the lubrication, and if they get in a firefight, they're just gonna have to run the guns dry. But that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, they're gonna have to
MacArthur
raw
was
dog
just
that
here.
shit.
He said we're gonna be home by Christmas.
I've heard of that. I've heard that story before too. I have heard that story before. That is a hell of a fucking story. Fuck me. I'm pretty sure this is like one of those stories that, which is why we proceeded to have actual like cold weather training, like really hardcore cold weather training for this kind of shit, and shit dedicated for cold weather.
The war is basically won. Hooray, I just got to sit around and freeze my ass off for a few more days, and it's all going to be good. Until it's not. November 27th.
I'm sorry. Anytime someone says, oh, this will be over by Christmas, or this will be over in a few months, never believe that shit. Because that shit is never actually true. That shit never actually works out.
It's 10 o'clock at night, both at Udamni, the army position, and Fox Company. All the Marines are hanging out. They're in their sleeping bags. They're sleeping. They're waiting for the war to get over. And then they hear bugle calls off in the distance. And within minutes, all hell breaks loose as wave after wave of Chinese soldiers start rushing their position. The Marines that were up monitoring the perimeter are scrambling to get the guns up and running because the bolts have frozen in place because it's so fucking cold. They're literally pissing on the machine guns to break the bolts loose.
For
the
fuck's
Marines that were
sake.
sleeping are scrambling to get out of their sleeping bags and get their guns as a firefight breaks out. The Marines that are just waking up don't even have time to get all their cold weather gear on. Some of these guys are literally running around in a firefight in negative 50 degree weather with no boots, just wearing their socks. The Marines start mowing down the Chinese soldiers as they attempt to attack their position, but the Chinese just keep coming wave after wave after wave. And after the first couple of waves, the waves that are coming out now, some of them don't even have guns on them. They're just running into the battlefield, picking up a gun off a dead Chinese soldier, and then attacking the Marine position. The Marines got everything.
Wow, they were really backed by the communists, by the Soviets, huh? They really fucking were. Pick up the rifle off the dead man. That's... it's so insane to me that they were that indoctrinated to where it's like, yeah, no. We're gonna send you in without a fucking rifle. You pick it up off a fucking dead man. And they were like, yeah, I'm gonna go to my death for that. Like, that is insane to me.
Going for them. They have machine guns, they have the high ground. Granted, it's negative 50 degrees, but that affects everybody, the enemy included. But the Chinese are throwing so many men at the Marines, they can't keep up. Even with the machine guns running full clip, they're still managing to get to the Marine position, and other Marines are fighting off Chinese in hand-to-hand combat with rifles and bayonets, trying to keep them off of the machine guns.
God, that's
it's
so
literally
fucking
the
natty.
nastiest, grittiest warfare you could imagine. It is a knife fight inside of a freezer. The foxholes are shallow because the ground was so frozen, so the Marines literally start taking the dead bodies of Chinese soldiers and stacking them into walls, using them for cover. And it goes all night.
Weirdly enough, if I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels that I know of. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that I've heard it happen twice.
Long. The Marines at Udamni, the army on the other side of the reservoir, and Fox Company all fight their asses off.
These are some
all night.
amazing
and you gotta remember,
pictures.
Fox Company's only 234 guys holding a position by themselves.
Yo, hold up. Look at these pictures. Yo, these are fucking this is phenomenal. Holy shit. Like, that's brutality in action, but that's also just pretty.
Fox Company all fight their asses
Like,
off
that is really
all night.
pretty.
And you gotta remember, Fox Company's only 234 guys holding a position by themselves with no backup for miles, and they are getting attacked by thousands of Chinese soldiers. And if they can't hold the choke point at this road, 8,000 Marines up north at UDamnE are completely cut off and are absolutely gonna die. Luckily, the man in charge of Fox Company is Captain William Barber, a veteran of Saipan and Tarawa, two of the biggest, nastiest battles.
Saipan and homie got this shit in lock. Homie's been there, done that, seen some of the nastiest shit ever. He knows what he has to do. I believe in him.
Of World War II. He radios into HQ as they're getting attacked. We're surrounded, but we can hold them. The 234 Marines of Fox Company quite literally spend their night farming the...
I'm sorry. Full on fucking... I'm sorry, what'd you say, homie? We're surrounded, but we can hold... Homie's a G. He's aura farming that shit. That's insane.
Commies for XP. Captain Barber even gets shot through the leg, refuses to get medevaced, and walks around the battlefield on a crutch, commanding his men all night long. Morning breaks, the battle's over. Fox Company has sustained 24 casualties. Bear in mind, casualties is dead and wounded, whether that...
Wait, 20? Did you say 24? But what I say, homie's a fucking G. He aura farming. I got hit. I ain't leaving. Give me a crutch. I'll walk around still.
Sustained 24 casualties. Bear in mind, casualties is dead and wounded, whether that be from battle or cold weather. On the flip,
only 24, guys. 24. That dude is so fucking G. Holy fuck.
side of the coin, Fox Company literally quits counting the dead bodies outside the perimeter at 1,500. That's not including all of the ones that were wounded by the battle and the weather. Across the entire Chosin Reservoir, the Marines up at UDamnE, Fox Company, and the Army, it's suspected that America lost between 600 and 700 soldiers, with hundreds of more wounded from either the battle or cold weather. The conservative estimates of the Chinese casualties are in excess of 12,000. The battle reports get sent down to General Smith. Smith is freaking out. He kicks them up to higher command, and higher command doesn't believe him.
I don't believe you.
So MacArthur sends out his right-hand guy, his patsy, his yes man, General Almond. Mr. Peanut shows up to the fucking army position in his helicopter, hops out, and the army commander informs him, I've got like 400 dead soldiers, a bunch of guys are wounded, we've captured a bunch of Chinese guys last night, and we've recognized patches from at least 2 separate divisions, meaning that there's at least 2 divisions of Chinese soldiers, 26,000 guys surrounding.
Considering there's over 100,000, yeah, there's at least 2
this position right now. To which General Almond, not believing him, says there's not 2 divisions in all of North Korea. Quote, are you gonna let a bunch of Chinese laundrymen get the best of you? End quote. He then gets in his helicopter.
Homie can go suck a. I'm about to crash out even harder. I'm about to crash out even fucking harder. Oh my God, I want to smack a bitch.
Helicopter and fucks off. MacArthur and his staff then issue the order to the 1st Marine Division to continue their advance towards the Yalu River.
Why are you the way that you are?
At this point, General Smith and his men realize
dick.
that they are now basically completely on their own, and higher command has lost their fucking minds. General Smith knows that if Fox Company falls, all the Marines at UDamnE are done for, and if he falls at the crossroads at the base of the Chosin Reservoir, the entire division is done for. The real problem is, his HQ at the base of the Chosin Reservoir, right at the crossroads, has 3,600 Marines, but they're not infantry. These aren't combat troops. These are cooks and mechanics and engineers and shit. These are not hardened combat troops.
You know, they're not guys made for that.
Because he orders absolutely everybody to get their guns and get ready for a fight and pick up defensive positions because the Chinese are coming for them next, and he knows it. And sure enough, the Chinese start launching.
Good guy. Fucking love him. Good on you.
Attacks during the day on November 28th. They launch attacks everywhere they had attacked the night before, and they're now attacking the division HQ at Hagaru, where General Smith is. The Chinese penetrated so far south that they actually came up behind Hagaru, and Hagaru is now completely surrounded as well. General Smith knows that Mao wants to divide and conquer, and he can't let him do it, so he sends the order out to his men in the field, hold your position as long as you can, and then make your way back to Hagaru so we can consolidate forces. And that's exactly what they do. They fight all day and all night on the 28th the 29th, the 30th, and then when they can't take any more, they finally start to make their way back to Hagaru. And this isn't just hop in the trucks and drive 10 miles down the road. They're completely surrounded. If they are moving, they are fighting every single inch of the way while trying to get hundreds.
That's a good fucking point.
Hundreds of wounded men out the entire time. The army fights
so
their
a
way down to
shit
Hudong,
show.
where they reconvene with their tanks and continue fighting their way down to Hagaru. The Marines have to fight their way down to where Fox Company is, reconvene with them, and continue fighting their way down to Hagaru. And while that's going on November 29th, Hagaru is completely surrounded. The road is cut off. They have no way of escaping. So they call up what remains of the 1st Marines down south, and they have a colonel in charge of them, Chesty Puller, who drives north and takes over the nearest town 11 miles from Hagaru called Kodori. The Chinese try to stop Chesty Puller and the 1st Marines, but they can't stop him.
You bitch, you can't stop Chesty. Chesty got this shit.
Once he's taken the town, they launch multiple attacks trying to retake it, but they can't. From here, they immediately put together Task Force Drysdale, 900 infantry troops that are going to convoy 11 miles up to Hagaru to reinforce them. Task Force Drysdale has to fight through the entire way. 1/3 of the men in that convoy.
Hey, yo, what the fuck was that firing position? Hold up.
Task Force Drysdale has to
not what I wanted to do.
fight through the
Shit, homie has that shit put up on it. I've seen this firing position for like snipers and shit. I've never seen it with an actual like LMG. Holy fuck. That's insane.
the entire way. 1/3 of the men in that convoy end up getting killed or wounded. Another third are forced to turn back because there's so many damaged trucks blocking the road, and only 1/3 makes it into Hagaru. But now Hagaru has 300 infantry soldiers helping all the cooks and mechanics. As the Marines from UDAMNI and the Army unit continue to fight their way south, the only thing keeping Hagaru in this fight is the airfield, bringing in C-47s full of supplies and carrying out thousands of wounded. You know, that same airfield that General...
I was about to say, that same airfield that he got shit on for fucking making? That's the one thing that's keeping him going? Fuck yeah.
Smith got a bunch of shit for building.
Hey, MacArthur, now that you have a bunch of wounded men coming back, what the fuck? Do you think that there's people here now?
Because it was unnecessary and he was being overly cautious. Yeah, well, now it's the only lifeline they have.
I fucking knew it!
The Army fights their way down. They make it into Hagaru on December 1st. That same exact day, they've got C-47s coming in, dropping supplies, carrying out wounded, and somewhere along the lines, obviously, they're running low on ammo, they're running low on medical supplies, they're running low on food. It's a complete disaster, and one of the things they needed were 60mm mortar rounds, commonly referred to as Tootsie Rolls. Well, apparently the guy loading the C-47 didn't know that, so an entire C-47 full of literal Tootsie Rolls, the candy, shows up. Literally just cases and cases.
I don't know if I would be upset or I'd be a bit both. It'd be like, yeah, yo, what the fuck? This isn't what I actually needed. What the fuck is this bullshit? And then, oh, you know what? Make sure you actually get me that shit and I'll spread this out to the guys.
Pallets and pallets of fucking Tootsie Rolls, and the Marines are like, I guess we're eating candy and kicking ass. Why not? Bear in mind, they're still getting attacked all day and all night, just repelling wave after wave, meat wall after meat.
God, can you imagine if you were a Chinese soldier and you heard about this? What are you thinking at this point? Like, oh, yeah, we have them outnumbered. We're just constant fighting. And then in the middle of all this, instead of getting more ammo or more mortars, you know, something that could really fuck us up, they called in a shitload of candy. They're eating candy over there. Like, what kind of, how demoralizing do you think that would be? Like, honestly, let me know. How demoralizing do you think that shit would be?
Wall of commies, and pretty soon it's just dead commies and Tootsie Roll wrappers all over the fucking place. And then the Marines start to realize when it's sub-zero temperatures, Tootsie Rolls are more than just a delicious treat. If you stick it in your mouth and chew it up a little bit and take it out, it makes basically rubber cement, and they start using it to patch fuel lines and patch holes and fix all kinds of shit and have.
That's actually a really good point, because when I used to live in Wyoming, when it would get super cold and I used to eat Tootsie Rolls a lot, I could not eat whenever I got them during like Halloween and whatnot, because Halloween in Wyoming where I lived was always super fucking cold. you used to hold that, you used to have to ball them in your hand to warm that shit up to even attempt to eat them. So knowing how they are, actually, that's actually really cool. It makes sense.
And the Marines in the Army just keep fighting all day, all night. They're doing everything they can for their wounded. The cold absolutely sucks. It's freezing the morphine. People are in pain. But on the flip side, the cold is also freezing shut wounds that would normally cause a lot of men to bleed to death. So the cold actually ended up saving a lot of lives as well. Everybody's got frostbite to varying degrees, but everybody just keeps fighting their ass off day and night. And by December 2nd, the rest of the Marines from Udomni make their way into Hagaru. And while all this is going on, somewhere along the line, it finally dawns on higher command that they have severely fucked up. MacArthur is just a defeated man. The newspapers back home have completely written off the entire 1st Marine Division with newspaper headlines basically saying they're doomed, they're a lost division, they're all gonna die. Pray for your loved ones. And as the Marines from Udomni are coming in, even though they haven't read those headlines and they haven't heard that, they feel that way. Their heads are hanging low, they're beat up, they're frostbitten, they've got wounded, and it just fucking sucks. And as they come marching in, all the other Marines in Hagaru and the Army start chanting the Marine Corps hymn. And as the Marines hear that, they lift their heads a little bit higher and they go from staggering into Hagaru to marching into Hagaru. And this is it. This is a Hollywood moment. This is Eye of the Tiger playing in a Rocky movie where everybody decides this fight isn't fucking over yet. Obviously, the Marines
we're just going in a different direction.
A little bit better shape than the guys that were up at Udomni and the Army unit. They're bringing everybody in. They're getting them fed. They're trying to get everybody warm. You got C-47s flying in supplies, carrying out wounded, bringing in ammunition, food, rations, absolutely everything. The Marines are literally using flamethrowers to heat up the food because it's frozen solid. The Chinese are still trying to attack, but America's got air superiority, artillery, supplies. They've got everything going for them except for numbers. The question now becomes, how are we going to get everybody out of here? We could fly everybody out with C-47s, but then we're going to have to abandon all the trucks, all the artillery, all the equipment. And then you're going to have the bigger issue of once the Chinese figure out that we're flying out all of our guys, the guys that they leave out at the ass end, if they get attacked, they're all going to die. So that's not really an option. The only option is to fight 11 miles south back to Kodo-ri with Chesty and the rest of the 1st Marine Division. And then from there, they're going to have to link up and fight further south from Kodo-ri down to the port of Hungnam, where they're going to be able to get on a ship and get out of there. So they spend the next 4 days getting ready for this massive movement, trying to fly out the most wounded on the airplanes, but they're not going to be able to get all the wounded out in time. They're going to have to put them in trucks and take them with them. Now, this type of movement is what many historians and battlefield experts would refer to as a fighting retreat. Basically, you're going to have to fight while you're defending your wounded and extract the other way. The problem is, and what General Smith would later argue, this is not a fighting retreat because I'm completely surrounded. I'm not falling back to friendly enemy lines. I'm literally assaulting another direction, and that's
I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. That isn't fighting. That isn't like no. I would agree with that. If my ass is surrounded by that many people, I'm not retreating. I have to fight that way. I have to retake the land that they took. No, I agree with him. That's some bullshit if they try saying that he fucking retreated. Nah, only thing homie did was fight back to friendly lines because he had to retake that land. I'm sorry. You disagree, fuck you.
Exactly what he tells his men, and it sets the vibe for the entire operation. We're not falling back. We're going back in and through the enemy.
Fuck yeah.
Go.
Exactly.
Get your spectral sock out, nerds. It's gonna get good.
And that's exactly what they do. The Marines punch through and fight 11 miles straight to Kodo-ri, where they link back up with Chesty and the rest of the 1st Marine Division. While in Kodo-ri, they're still obviously having supplies and everything airdropped in, and whether it was purely a mistake or whether somebody in the Air Force has a really good sense of humor, some of the supplies that they airdropped in were crates and crates of condoms.
I'm sorry, what?
Which, whether it was intentional or not, provided a much-needed comic relief because, let's face it, the Marines are only good at 3 things: getting stuff dead, broken, or pregnant, and pretty much all the enemies dying off, everything's already broken, being patched together with fucking Tootsie Rolls. There's only one thing left they could do.
And that's it.
All jokes aside, there's still work to be done, and somebody's got to get the Marines back on task. That's a lot of work to be done. This is where Chesty comes up with one of the most famous quotes in Marine Corps history. Quote, "We're surrounded. That simplifies the problem. They're to the left of us, they're to the right of us, they're in front of us, they're behind us. They can't get away this time. And with that,
I've heard that quote. I love that quote.
Marines and 1,000 vehicles set off on this 35-mile journey. Now, remember, this is a narrow road, only one car wide. This convoy stretches for miles. As the lead element approaches Fuchilin Pass, there is a bridge. It is the only way to get across this massive gorge. And when they get there, the bridge is blown up right in the middle with a 29-foot gap in it. The Chinese have them trapped. There is no other way out.
What did I say? What did I say? All it would take is blowing out one portion of the road and you're fucked. What did I say? I called that shit.
This is it. This is game over for anybody except for America. Because America has the greatest logistical capability that the world has ever seen. So when the Marines get on the radio and say, we need a bridge, the Air Force simply replies, copy. The Marines then leave the trucks on the road, fight up the ridge, take the
USA, USA, USA. I love being an American.
high ground and start engaging the enemy for hours, giving the Air Force time. While that's going on, the Air Force acquires 8 portable bridge sections weighing 3,000 pounds apiece that have never been dropped out of a plane before, do practice runs figuring out how to drop these things out of a plane without breaking them and without getting people killed, figures it out and airdrops the bridge pieces back at Kodori, where the Marines load them onto trucks and bulldozers and get them in the convoy headed to the bridge. And this gets done in the span of less than 24 hours. Once the bridge pieces make it there, with the Marines still engaging the enemy and the workers under fire, they then install the bridge sections and have it go from there's no bridge here, we're fucked, to hey guys, we've got a bridge in less than 36 hours. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this was during the worst weather of the entire affair, with temperatures dipping down to negative 55 degrees during a blizzard where visibility was less than 50 feet in front of your face. And that's it. Once they cross this bridge, they're home free. There's a couple of more skirmishes between here and Hungnam, but they just wipe them to the side. You got to remember, the Chinese have been out there just as long as them, and they're not getting all this
really good point
and everything else. These guys are hurting. They're rolling up on setup ambushes and checkpoints, and the Chinese soldiers are literally just frozen solid in place. And as they're making this multi-day voyage to Hungnam, this last 35 miles, the weather breaks, and it goes from being negative 55 degrees to like 30 degrees, an 80-degree temperature shift, and to these guys, it's fucking hot out. So when the
Dude, go 80 degrees in such a short amount of time? Yeah, that would feel fucking hot. That really fucking would. That'd be like, shit, I gotta take off my parka at this point. Like, no, that is fucking warm compared to what you were used to.
15,000 Marines roll into Hungnam, the same Marines in newspapers have been saying they're as good as dead, they're doomed, they're a lost cause for weeks. Roll in, they do it sitting on top of tanks and in trucks like half dressed.
Fuck yeah!
So they link up with the UN forces in Hungnam. There's now 100,000 men there, but there's still hundreds of thousands of Chinese that are coming down as reinforcements to crush them. They got to get out of there as soon as possible. They've got 100 ships to load everybody up on, but then things get complicated because 100,000 Korean civilians start showing up from all the towns and villages nearby because the Chinese were looting them and killing them, or they just don't want to live under the threat of communism there.
I mean, smart, like, shitty situation to be in, but you gotta I'm assuming, this is assuming here, but it's you gotta prioritize those fucking civilians.
Start walking to Hungnam and beg them to help. We've only got 100 ships to get 100,000 of our own guys out of there. I don't think many people would judge them if they said, I'm sorry, we can't help you. We're trying to do everything we can, but we gotta save ourselves first. But that's not what they did. U.S. forces have lost a ton of men. They've got thousands of wounded. They've got over 10,000 men suffering from frostbite, and they say, fuck it, we can still impromptu successfully pull off one of the largest humanitarian evacuations in the history of the world. Why not? They rigged the entire city to blow up, including the port, and then
this shit got me feeling sad now. Like, I don't know why. Just hearing that just made me start to tear up. Like, that's insane. That they were still just like, you know what? No. We're gonna fucking get you guys out. Because of what's happening. Even at the risk of our lives, we will get you out. I love
loaded
that.
absolutely everybody, the UN troops and 100,000 civilians on board of these ships, and it is just ass-packed like sardines. To give you an idea of how packed it was, the USS Meredith, a merchant marine vessel that only had 68 crew members, managed to cram over 14,000 Korean civilians on board. And on an extremely dangerous 7-day voyage to safety, not a single one of them would die. In fact, 5 people were born, giving it the nickname the Ship of Miracles. So they got
that is a fucking miracle. That makes me so happy.
Got underway on this extremely dangerous 7-day voyage and then blew up the entire city. Over 1 million people in South Korea today are descendants of those civilians that the UN troops saved. At the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir, 1,079 American troops died in combat. Another 4,582 were wounded, with thousands more suffering from frostbite. Conservative estimates from the UN believe that the Chinese military suffered somewhere around 43,000 casualties, with other credible estimates ranging as high as in excess of 60,000. The Chosin Reservoir would go on to become one of the most decorated battles in American history,
God,
with the men
insane.
earning 17 Medals of Honor, including Captain Barber of Fox Company, 73 Navy Crosses, one of which went to Chesty Puller, and 23 Distinguished Service Crosses. Many of the Marines
God,
that
that's
survived the
insane.
Chosin Reservoir would later in life go on to express great pride in the fact that they not only managed to save themselves, but they managed to save South Korea as well. And allegedly, many of them requested to be buried with Tootsie Rolls. Thank you for watching.
That's
Best way to
so
support the channel is Go buy some
sweet.
merch over to thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Those guys, they were so tough in what they had been through. You know, you see things like that and you go, what are the limits of a man's endurance and his courage and his spirit?
We felt that we were going to kick some butt, and we were kicking butt up there. Until you got to Hellfire Valley, I should put that in there. I would say when I got to Hellfire Valley on the way out, walking out, you could almost cry seeing those Marines laying there. Until you see your guy laying there, you don't think much of it.
As we got near
that's
the line, we
sad.
were aware that we were getting into Hagaroo. Somebody said, count, cadence, count. And people started getting in step. You could hear the shoe packs, first clumpity, clump, clump, clumpity, and then they were clump, clump, clump. People were getting in step. We were marching.
We marched into Hagaroo. The sound of feet crunching in the frozen ice. Someone watching us said, "Look at those bastards, those magnificent bastards."
You're not the same person. You're a different person. You're just something you never thought you'd be.
I'm happy that I was able to participate in something that was as important as the Korean War.
We had an obligation to fulfill, and we did it. Freedom has a price. It's not free. You have to fight for this freedom. And when I look and see what the South Korean people are enjoying today, I guess I'm glad I was part of that.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That we were absolutely right in doing what we did to help save them.
You're proud that you did it. You don't realize how proud you are until you get older. I don't know why, but I can relate and say I was a chosen survivor. You know, it's... Not everybody can say that. I was there. You're proud of the moment. And you're glad you survived. And God bless America, that's all I can say.
I have seen around the world the cleanest bodies, the filthiest minds, the highest morale, and the lowest morals of any group of animals I have ever seen. Thank God for United States Marine Corps. Eleanor Roosevelt. I gotta say, I think this might be the best Fat Electrician video yet. I think this is honestly the best one so far. I think I like this one the most. Well, that was U.S. Marines surrounded by communists, the Chosin Reservoir by the Fat Electrician. God, that was so good. Make sure you watch the original. It's so good. He deserves all the love. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, you guys take care of yourselves. See ya.